So let's analyze it really fast here. Fly me to the moon. What key are we in?
A minor.
C.
C or A minor? Which one?
C.
Of you, C6, C major. Good. That's a good indicator. The first chord is A minor, but that doesn't really tell us anything, really, the first chord. So be careful. Always look at to see what the last A minor is the 6 chord. D minor is the 2 chord. G7 is the 5. And C major is the 1. Okay, so there's that first phrase is in the key of C. We have the 6, 2, 5, 1. And then the C7 is not in the key of C, it's just a passing chord, but it's called a secondary dominant. It's the dominant of what chord? Good, it's the 5 of the 4 chord. So this brings us to a little popular use of other dominant chords that are not in the key called secondary dominants. So dominant chords are the 5 chord of a key. Five-minute chord analysis of the song. But we have to start with what are the chords in the key of C? First chord is what?
C major.
C major. Second chord is what?
D minor.
Third chord is what?
E minor.
Anybody else besides Leslie know the stuff? Fourth chord. Fourth chord is what?
F major. The
F
last
major.
Diminished.
And the 5 chord is what?
G dominant.
G, and it's good. G7. We'll just stick to just triads for now. It's G major. And the 6 chord is what?
A minor.
Good. And then the 7 chord is what?
D diminished.
Good. And that's a triad. These are the triads first. And then when you put the 7th chords, as Pete was already starting to do, or you know, if you don't know this is now we can add 7 chords. Through the whole process. I'm just kind of giving it to you right now. C major 7. If you're to do the full chord as 7th chords, we want to do 7th chords because they sound jazzy. D minor 7. I'm just gonna again give it to you. E minor 7. F major 7, the 4 chord. The 5 chord is G dominant 7, G7. The 6 chord is A minor 7. And this last chord is B minor 7 flat 5, aka half diminished. So we oftentimes for a symbol you put a line through it and say half diminished. I'm gonna go ahead and write minor 7 flat 5. I'll be consistent here. So there are your chords in the key of C as 7th chords. C major 7, the 1 chord, the 2 chord, D minor 7, the 3 chord, E minor 7. Not just triads, but 7th chords, again, to add that jazzy note to it. The major 7. In this case, dominant 7, the 5. I'm putting Roman numerals, the 6, and the 7 is half diminished, so that's where I put that symbol there. For you of the chord scale relationship. So the 1 chord is major 7. This is true for any major key. The 2 chord is minor 7. The 3 chord is minor 7. The 4 chord is major 7. The 5 chord is a dominant 7 chord, G7 in this case. The 6 chord is A minor 7, minor 7. The 7 chord is half diminished, also known as minor 7 flat 5. And this is because it has to conform to the C scale. And then back to C major 7. All those notes in this chord scale that I just did those are all completely in the key of C. Every note on that chord scale is staying within the key of C. But one composition aspect of these songs, these jazz standards, is the heavy use of secondary dominants, and that's what I'm talking about here. And that means the dominant is the 5 chord. Not only is it the 5 chord of the key, but the secondary means it could be the 5 chord of the chords of any of these chords can have their own dominant chord, and that's the term secondary dominant. E7 is the 5 of what?
A.
Good, of A, and which is the 6th chord. It's A minor 7 in the key of C. So that's where that E7 comes in. If you're wondering, wait, E7 is not in the key of C. It's not. It's supposed to be E minor, but E7 is the 5 of A minor. So this song, that would be called the 5 of the 6. So that's the secondary dominant there. And this song, as I look, I think there's one more secondary dominant in this song that you'll notice.
Yeah.
But at this point, we can name all of them. I'll as a demonstration, let's go ahead and talk about the dominants. Remember, the dominant is not only a type of chord, the 7th chord, but it's also the 5. So what is the 5th of C?
G.
Good, that's the real dominant. We already have that here, so I didn't even need to write it. But what's the 5th of D?
A.
Good, and see, this is just knowing your spelling of the chord is very important to know your intervals. That A, so I put A7 quickly. These are all going to be 7th chords. And what's the 5th of E?
B.
Good. So that's a B7 chord. Again, that's the dominant of the 3 chord. So if you were to label it as an analysis, it'd be the 5 of the 3. This is the 5 of the 2. This is the real 5. That's just the 5 of the 1. So it's just a 5. A lot of people put 5-7. I'm just putting 5. And then G7, what's the 5th of G?
D.
Good, so that's now the 5 of the 5. This explains so many movements in the jazz style of writing, songwriting. And then that's just a scale. It sounds like this. But now listen to this with the secondary dominants. You're going to go, ooh, wow, that sounds really sweet and very pretty. C major 7, A7, D minor 7, B7, E minor 7, C7, F major 7, D7, G7, E7, A minor 7. Is that nice? So I kind of zigzagged. I went like this: C major 7, A7, D minor 7, B7. So the dominant chords, the secondary dominants in classical music and most music in general, functional music they call it, the 5 wants to resolve to the 1. It wants to pull you there, the 5-1 relationship. So that's why I placed the 5 chord in front of the chord that we wanted to go to. So instead of just walking up the scale like I just did, I went like this. And then finally E7. Isn't that nice? We have the 6, 2, 5, 1, 5 of the 4, 4, 7, the 5 of the 6, 6, 5 of the 2, 2, 5, C major 1, the 3, the 5 of the 2, 2, the 5, and kiss me, the 1. And then the turnaround, the 7, and then the 5 of the 6, which then pulls us back to the 6. Fill my heart with song, let me sing forevermore. C7, 5 of the 4, you are all I. B minor 7, flat 5 of the 7, E7, the 5 of the 6, 6, 5 of the 2, 2 in other words. G7, hold my hand. E minor 7 to 3, then the A7, the 5 of the 2, in other words. G7, the 5, I love you. There we go, we'll just end it there. That's the analysis of the whole song. Basically, of this 3, 3, 3, 3. So again, as you guys are starting to think like, I think like more like a composer, That will add a sense of melodicism to your soloing. It gives you something to target. But of course you have to know what's the third of A minor, what's the third of D minor, what's the third of G7. But then we set up these little targets, and you will sound very melodic when you improvise. So that combined with the easy swing style, which I call Pentatonic and Blues, which is more, down-homey sounding, bluesy for lack of a better description, that's a nice combination to get bluesy and then also to be ultra melodic and target thirds or other tones for that matter. Why does it sound like that? Because it's all about the thirds. Third, 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 third. What I mean by that is when you analyze it, it's a third of the chord. C is a third of A minor. F is a third of D minor. B is a third of G7. E is a third. So it's a pattern. The composer's just following the pattern, which makes a great chord study on the guitar, because you just learn where the thirds are. It's a pattern. And that's why you're here, is to kind of know, what do I do with the C major scale? You might play a sequence. You might do what the melody does. You might do the melody design, targeting. The melody is just right down the scale. It's just this. But of course, that doesn't sound too interesting until we play it with some rhythm, until we, add some life to it. Otherwise, it's just, this is it on paper. Those are the three options I generally like to look at. Are the three levels. Arpeggios, arpeggiating is just face value. Listen to the arpeggios over Fly Me to the Moon. It's basically just breaking up the chord. Now I'm just breaking up the chord. You'd go A, C, E, G, D, F, A, C. That's again spelling out, knowing how to spell each one of those chords. And then the next step, what I'm going to talk about today is, hey, we're in the key of C, just play C major scale. Just...